Out of curiosity, I started experimenting with single-use plastics. I didn't know what is right or wrong. If you consider it as a waste, then it's going to be waste. That was the time that I realized what I love the most. Get connected with other artists and learn more about myself. Also, it acts as a gateway. If you could combine the technology and art, it can create wonders.
Now let's start from the very beginning. Hello! Today Art in Adelaide is visiting South Australian artist Swapna Namboodiri in her home studio. When I saw your works first time at the exhibition, I found myself asking the question why this artist chosen the most artificial, most unnatural material to make these beautiful nature-inspired forms. I could not ask this question back then, but I would like to address it to you now. Why plastic?
To answer to your question, frankly speaking, I get this question asked quite a lot of time. I think it's everywhere. It's so easy to be found. It has somehow become part of our lifestyle, which is not in a very good way. And I thought this is a way that I know to contribute for reducing the plastic waste. I didn't start as an upcycling artist, or I didn't straight away decide to upcycle plastics and create artworks. It happened gradually. I loved experimenting with so many other things, traditional materials. But then, out of curiosity, I started experimenting with single-use plastics, because prior to that, I had experimented a couple of years with glass. I had learned stained glass and I used to paint on glass. I was so inclined towards the translucent effect that the glass is giving, and I wanted to experiment the same thing on plastic, and that experiment led to here.
So you started and could not stop?
Yes. I just couldn't stop experimenting, and I think that eager experiment sessions just kept me going, and started creating large installations to sculptural works and started accumulating a lot more plastics and somehow reducing the plastic waste.
Now let's start from the very beginning.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about your professional background and how you turned to art?
That's again an interesting phase of my life, because I didn't start as an artist. I was trained as a software engineer, and I worked as a software engineer as well for almost 5 years. But I started painting very young. I was always with my colors and sketchbooks and drawing portraits or sketching something. At one point, just to learn some kind of art, I attended this stained glass session where I created a couple of stained glass panels. That made me so curious to learn about the glass as a medium and the paints. At that time, I was still working. I had the day job. But when my daughter was born, I found it very difficult to manage my career and back home things. So I thought I'll take a break from the software field for a couple of years. And that was the time that I got to spend more time with my paint and the things that I like. And that was the time that I realized what I love the most and what I love doing the most. Whenever my baby was sleeping, or whenever I get a couple of hours straight, I would just sit and paint without any inhibitions, just experimenting a lot. I love playing with colors and textures. I would just gather things around home and just experiment. At that time, I was back in India, and I just visited few exhibitions and just communicated with other artists and started learning from them. I think that learning curve helped me to get connected with other artists and learn more about myself. Then I learned that how I love bright colors, how I like textures, and what materials I'm more comfortable with. After my daughter turned 1 year, I decided to step down from my software career, and within a couple of years, I started creating small artworks. Basically, that was a couple of years of experimenting and learning phase for me. It took a few more years to transition from that phase to kind of an artist.
I was talking to many people who have engineering background, and I found that it affects your art because you apply your engineering practice and try to challenge yourself more and
Right.
experiment more. Do you
Right.
feel it's the same with you?
Absolutely. There is always some kind of problem solving skill that you apply, especially in my case, since I do not come from a trained artist background. I didn't know what is right or wrong. At least in my early phase, I always had this phase of self doubt because am I doing the right thing? Will artists do such things? I was in that confusing state. But then there is this problem solving skill that comes into act. We don't know if that is going wrong or going right. So you just experiment yourself and apply the skill until you're satisfied with the work. That's just a beautiful phase because there is kind of an uncertain phase. And if you enjoy that, then yes, it's a skill that we can practice and you can apply that in a good way for growing your skills as well.
And how do you work on your projects? Do you plan them in details from the very beginning, or just start having something in mind and let it evolve naturally? What is your way?
I work both ways. It depends on the project. If it is a commission project, if the client has certain idea in mind, especially for hospitality projects, I have worked with a couple of clients. They want particularly that kind of work. Last year, I completed one for a hospitality project back in California. They had specific dimensions, especially the 0.3 centimeter, that much dimension. So in such case, I do start with the design and the details. Everything will be planned. But I'm a person of spontaneity. I enjoy the other side. Like I just go with the flow. At that time, I will have a base framework. Like if I'm working on a collection of pieces, I might have an idea what the concept would be, the color palette, or just how many pieces in the collection. But rest everything just comes as I go, because if it is a collection of 10, your ideas and your techniques may vary and might evolve when it goes from the first piece to the 10th piece. So it's a beautiful process. For some other commissions, you will just have the concept and you will be given the freedom to explore the concept
Great.
and just come up with whatever comes in that moment of time. And then again, experimenting with this flexible medium, because it is always filled with surprises. When you keep experimenting, you get most unbelievable textures with plastic.
And do you collect your pieces before starting the project, or you have something in mind and start collecting pieces for some particular purposes?
So my plastic collection is ever growing. If you are willing to contribute plastic, I will be happy to take it. My friends and people in the neighborhood, whoever who knows that I am using this material, they are very kind enough to clean and contribute the plastics for me. So the base medium would be PET bottles, takeaway boxes, milk jars, all those single-use plastics. That is so common in our lifestyle, and whenever I get time, I try to cut them and sort them so it doesn't occupy that much space. For certain projects, I need to collect the plastics. For example, the one project that I'm handling right now, it involves hard plastics, so I go to the recycling centers or thrift stores to collect the plastic and go with that.
When I look at your piece, I see what I should see. I see the part of the sea bottom,
Yes.
but it's just so exciting that the stuff which supposed to pollute
Yes.
sea used in this beautiful way. How people react when they see your works at the exhibitions? How do they accept the idea of using these materials?
I think the acceptance has been great. Obviously, because of that, I have pursued this material so far. During the initial phase, when you're experimenting, it depends mainly on the people's reaction or acceptance, at least during the beginning phase, and especially when you're not a trained artist. So the acceptance had been great, especially when there is a message or concept behind the practice, I think that also adds to the beauty and the value of the artwork. For me, it's about people's mindset and perception about the material. If you consider it as a waste, then it's going to be waste. It could be fabric, it could be metal, it could be wood. Everyone consumes certain things and wastes something. It's about our mindset, how you can reduce that wastage and, if possible, convert that into something else. I've read this quote from the National Geographic article that nothing is a waste until it gets wasted. I think that's the concept that stuck to me since a very long time. I see potential in such materials. There should be people, or there should be ideas and initiatives where people and organizations see potential in all such materials, because there is so many things that individually or collectively we could do to convert such materials into such meaningful things and elevate their values. Once these stories get converted or get translated, or when the audience are able to connect with such stories, I think that's the beauty of this art practice and storytelling. I think the audience are also able to connect to the story that I'm trying to tell, especially when all these evidence is just in front of our eyes about climate change and about plastic pollution. It's not just an illusion, or it's not just a made up story anymore.
Yeah, it's
So
obsessing reality.
people know, and many people are aware about what is happening. So they are ready to appreciate if someone is ready to take up a step to reduce that.
Where people could see your artwork in person, where do you exhibit?
I often exhibit during an art show. Last year was my first Sala season, because I'm still kind of new to Adelaide. It has been around 1.5 years since my family and I relocated to Adelaide. So I was so excited about the first year of Sala, and I was part of 6 different exhibitions during that season.
Oh.
Yes, and encouragement and the appreciation and the acceptance that I received during that season was such a huge validation for me to just keep going with the art practice, because before that we were in Doha, Qatar, and I had been doing this for around 7+ years there, and to leave that art scene from there and come into a new country was most challenging for me, and I was quite skeptical about the move, but thank God everything fell in place, and the first Sala was a wonderful experience for me. And after that, I'm part of Gallery M as well, so I exhibit there. And this year, I was part of the Solar Art Prize. This year's Sala, I will be exhibiting as part of a workshop and an exhibition at Duty Street Art Supplies. Apart from that, I do commission works and other projects. So recently I had done a commission project for the Burnside Council. You could go and visit the artwork. It's a wall installation and it is installed at the customer service area. I really hope and look forward to create such installations or artworks in such prominent places.
And what do you think, which art event was the most fascinating, most important for you, and maybe shaped a bit your art practice?
In general, I would say back in 2022, just after the COVID, I got this wonderful opportunity to create a large-scale installation involving maybe 1,000 or 2,000 PET bottles. It was named Fool's Paradise, and it was a huge installation as part of a sustainability brand launch. It was inspired by the desert oasis, where we had small green bushes and palm trees and that kind of a landscape. So it was done back in Doha, Qatar. That was the most challenging as well as most exciting work that I've done so far, and it was kind of a milestone project for me because it taught me so many things. That was the first time that I was able to tackle such a large scale project. That was such a huge event in my career, I would say. After that, I had done an art installation that was made just with plastic carry bags collected from people, And that was again a project for the FIFA World Cup Fan Festival. And it was such a brilliant experience. So these two projects stay close to my heart, and I have learned a lot through those two projects and the process that I've followed through this.
And do you have some online resources we can recommend people to come and see your works online?
Yeah, sure. I update regularly on my social medias, especially on Instagram, and I try to update on my website as well. Mostly Instagram, because I've seen that people get so connected with the artist when we share certain sneak peek of the projects and the process. I've started capturing the videos or photos as part of my process. Even though it's hard and it just cuts off my flow, whenever I remember, I just on the camera and try to capture a few clips and just compile it together and create the videos for the audience. That has been getting a lot of attention in the social media platform, and through the social media platform, I have had the opportunity to work with various clients. So I think that has played a wonderful role in my career growth over the past maybe 7 years. Instagram is the place to go for me.
It's so good that you do it, because many artists still don't believe in social media. So you feel how it helps you to promote your art.
Absolutely. Especially at this moment of time. Technology is growing. Everything is in this phone. Earlier, artists go to a gallery. Just like that, people are going to online galleries or such platforms to see what the other artists are doing, or how the collectors are finding the artist, or how the galleries are finding the artist. I think there is so much potential in wisely utilizing such platforms. Also, it acts as a gateway. There is a huge audience, and you can use this as a window to just connect with them. For me, when I was back in Doha, Qatar, I didn't have that many gallery opportunities. So I had to use the online platforms. I had to use the online galleries and ship my artworks across. That acted as the intermediate fare for me to connect with the outside audience. And I think if you could combine the technology and art, it can create wonders.
I think it's especially important in Adelaide, because it's quite a small city.
Absolutely. The project that I'm currently working on, that is for a Sydney-based project, they found me through Instagram. It's just a starting point. Then you take it to your website, or a formal interaction could happen through your emails and other communication. But at least social media can open such opportunities.
And in general, what would be your advice to people who would like to start working with
Unconventional
materials? Yeah, how they should start, what they should start from, and how they could develop their skills and knowledge in this area.
It's about your personal connection as well. Because straight away, we cannot just take a decision and, okay, from tomorrow I will be working with wood or plastic. When you practice and experiment with maybe 10 materials, you will definitely find a connection towards one particular material, something that you will be comfortable with, something that just motivates you to work more on. So when you find such personal connection, then that will be the growth line, or that will be the path that you could take. In order to get there, you need to just keep on practicing and be curious to learn and experiment. That childlike passion to experiment with different materials, that should be the foundation, I believe. If there is an excitement for playing with all the materials, then you will have the energy and you will have the enthusiasm to work on it consistently. For this practice, you need consistency. It just polishes your skill and it just works magic on your career path as well. Enthusiasm towards material is a strong foundation that you could give anyone.
Thank you, Swapna, for this beautiful storytelling. I could not call it just interview because it was pure storytelling. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your experience, and your vision of art and environment and all the things put together. Thank you so much.
All thanks to you guys for coming here and talking to me about my works. I love sharing the story behind the artworks as well. Really appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so
Thanks.
much.